Welcome everyone. Today is 18th of August, and this is another installment of SIG Apps bi-weekly meeting. My name is Maciej, and I'll be your host today. I'm joined by Ken and Janet. We have one announcement from Janet. Want to walk us through?
Yes. So we are adding a new, or should I say, we've added a Kubernetes 6 repo called Sandbox, an agent Sandbox. And this is for developing um, the new workload API under CRD for how might someone create a new kind of workload that handles use cases for when you want to run an agent, you want to run your tool calls in a sandbox, or for the use case when you want to create a dev environment. And I have created a proposal and discussed with Maciej 2 weeks before, and that was approved by the Kubernetes org. So the repo has been created. Let me paste the link of the repo here. The next action item is to start drafting out what the CRD could look like and put some code for the controller. And the idea is that we can leverage the runtime class in the pod for the real sandbox features. For example, it could work for work using a gvisor or perhaps also Kata container. And I'm also planning to reach out to the Kata container community to see if they're interested in defining a standard with us to make sure that the API works for a different runtime class. And if anyone is interested in collaborating, please also let me know, or you can just send PRs in this repo. And that's it.
Cool. I also just dropped an information. The 134 is planned to be released next Wednesday. I haven't heard anything about delays in the release. So if you at any point in time get pinged by the release team, please make sure to respond promptly and help them unblock 134 release. Okay, so with those two topics, we can jump into the main discussion points. Heba, are you planning to share your screen?
Yes, I am. Let me try to do this and see how it goes.
You should be able. I already make you a co-host.
Thank you.
And I'll also stop sharing.
All right. Here you go. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep.
Perfect. So it was an interesting topic, actually. I was working on continue the work for GA, the max unavailable work. And during this work, I discovered that there is a lot of people are complaining about the rolling updates in stateful set. And I tracked back this issue to figure out that it has been a long time. It has been, a very old discussion related to it. So I thought it's very valuable to just pick this work up and try to propose a solution for it. And the KIP is already up for review, but I would like to just give you like a quick overview and a quick, like go through it very quick to make it easier for all of you to review it. So what we have right now, the problem is the stateful set can permanently, like stuck forever. Why? Because currently the update strategy, which is, like the rolling update one, it's like, okay, I have this, like this stateful set. There's a problem I had while I'm deploying or updating this stateful set, which basically, for example, like have a typo in the image name. So, okay, I will just go back and try to redeploy it, but this will never fix the problem. Why? Because it's according to the update strategy. I will, like it will never update automatically. We will have to go delete this specific pod to be able to make the stateful set or to unblock this as the stateful set. This seems like okay for lots of people, but basically, if we go through some user reports, and actually, like I stated here all the issues that has been opened related to this issue. The users actually reported problems like the CI/CD pipelines just broken because like we cannot fix it automatically. We have to go manually to fix it. And like it's constantly broken with every update or every configuration mistake we are doing. And imagine this in staging environment or in development environment as well. It's like unfortunate, to be honest, to just like have the stateful set stuck every time. And I added like a couple of use cases actually that I just talked about. One of them is the CI/CD, and the other one, which was very interesting, which is the LWS, which is the current work for related to the DRI, lots of work related to AI and ML. So basically, there are use cases that they are using the stateful set. It's like their use of the stateful set. It's some sort like the deployment. They wanted to use the stateful set as a deployment, but with the benefit of having a stateful set. So, for example, they wanted to use it with no ordering for dependencies. And they wanted to use a stateful set only for like the index. They're really like interested in ordinal index for the pod identification. So if if one replica fails, the entire stateful set will fail and the update will get stuck, and they feel like this will be a big blocker for them, and they would like to have a way to recover automatically, similar to the deployment behavior workload. So I had a good question. Actually, I found a good question in the initial cap issue, which is why we just use like we can use the max unavailable and it should fix the problem. Basically, no. And I like I stated this into details in the cap, but TLDR, it won't work because if any bot fails to reach the ready state, the entire update will got halt, even if I had the max unavailable more than one. This won't work, like because the bot will like will plug the progress for the other stateful set bots. So and this is basically it's as designed, like it's per design. The controller will just wait indefinitely. So the max unavailable won't work, and actually the pod management policy, if we set it as parallel, this actually also won't work because this will lose the benefit of sequential ordering guarantee for other people. So in many use cases, this will not solve the problem. And actually, I added here a flow chart, a quick flow chart for these, like these two solutions and why they're, like they can't solve the problem. And as you can see here, like where this use case or where the current update strategy will stuck and why we cannot use it for the enforce update. Oops, sorry. Yeah, so basically, the proposed solution is introducing a new update strategy called enforce rolling. And that people can just add it, add this enforce rolling update, which is, hey, I'm updating the stateful set. Basically, I'm responsible for, I know what I'm doing, and I'm responsible now for my behavior, which is I wanted to update the stateful set, and please do not block the update for the stateful set. And you can imagine this this use case for example for the storage, for the like any stateful workload. This can be very beneficial for them. Yeah, so this is very quick. The quick intro. The CAP is already up for review. I would love if you can give it some like some time to review it. I try to make a comparison between the existing solution and the proposed solution as well. And you will find more use cases as well. I didn't want it to go through all of them. Yeah, happy to answer any question.
Why making a new rolling update strategy as opposed to add a flag to the existing rolling update strategy that's defaulted to false?
Which update strategy we are talking about?
You want basically a rolling update, right? But you just want a slightly different behavior for the rolling update, depending on whether you want to force the pod to restart on a bork. You could, like, the rolling update strategies are parameterized. You could just you could extend the existing strategy as opposed to adding an entirely new one.
Yeah, of course. So your proposal is, or like your suggestion is, instead of having.
I'm asking if you. I'm asking if you thought about that doing it that way. It's not. I mean, is there a strong reason to do it the other way? It's not necessarily a suggestion.
It's not strong. There is no strong reason at all. It's just like I thought about it as, okay, like we can document it easier and like not confusing the user. So it's like we're introducing new updates, like totally a new update strategy. So you can opt in, opt out from it, and you like your current workload is like it's the same. There is nothing, you don't need to add new test cases or anything like that. So this was my my thought, but basically, of course, I'm open to like to see if this is like a doable or not.
So we're also adding the feature for max unavailable. How does, if you're adding it as a new type, update type, then how does that, how does the user leverage the max unavailable feature, or they don't?
No, they can. So the max unavailable, actually, and this is one of the reason I wanted to add it as a separate or a new an entire new update. So you can have like max to unavailable. So basically, It's I believe you cannot combine both because it's little bit contradiction. Like they will contradict what you are trying to do. If you have like this enforcement update, you're saying now, hey, halt, like the max unavailable until the update is done, and then you can go back to the max unavailable. So I believe like it's another way or a different strategy to update instead of just like saying, hey, I'm allowing just 2 pods to be failing. I'm here saying I don't care how many pods. Let's update what you have until you're done.
Janet, I think that Heba put a table together how this affects the max and available, if I
Yeah.
remember correctly,
Yes.
explaining all the interaction. And one of the questions that I actually had, and I see you have it in the table, was also about the parallel pod management policy and how that will apply to the enforced rolling update. But I think that that table should describe that. Maybe we'll just make sure that all those use cases are covered. I want to build a little bit on Ken's question about do we want to have entirely separate strategy, or are we just gonna extend the currently existing rolling strategy with a Boolean flag? I started wondering about a different use case. Do I unconditionally want to force an update? Or are you envisioning cases where only certain failures will be retried and others don't? Something like we currently have in the job where you are able to say, oh, this is the failure that I'm expecting, so you can just retry those. But everything else is a hard failure. So I think having an information whether we want to add something like those conditionals in the future would be an important thing to address before we are able to decide whether to go entirely with a separate strategy. Because with the conditional, I'm guessing that we wouldn't want to pollute the original rolling strategy and force user to just use this particular one.
Well, yeah, I guess to your point, it seems a lot like deployment recreate, but not exactly.
Yes,
So
yes.
if we want to do deployment recreate, why not like I could see doing a recreate strategy, but then that's what I would call it, right? Like I wouldn't call it enforce rolling update, but deployment recreate specifically tolerates downtime across the deployment for the purposes of recreating it when it's broken, which is seems to be like that's what this is trying to solve. And like even way back in the day, I mean before we V1, I remember Clayton, I think Janet, me, some other people, we talked about like we could do a recreate later. So it was always kind of something that was backlogged and we never just like, I mean, like to your point in the cap, yeah, there are a lot of people who end up working stuff in CI/CD, but most of the time it's because they pushed a bad image version or something like that. And and like I get it, like I just don't care. So the balance has always been like, well, we don't want to do recreate because of the potential impact for data corruption or loss for a production workload. I think like maybe taking a step back now that stateful set's been V1 for years now, people are familiar enough with it where if you introduce a recreate as a separate, that I could see that being a thing. But that's a different semantic than what's kind of proposed here. And what's proposed here to me, like I'm also not opposed to, but that would be more interesting. Like if you did make it work with like forced rolling update, you tried to preserve availability, and then you handled all the interoperability between surge and max, like basically the disruption, the max number of pods you're willing to tolerate being out. That's kind of my broad look at it.
I mean, I will openly say that the name that we currently have in the proposal is not, I'm not super in favor of it. We'll just have to figure out something else. Although I will admit that I haven't thought about recreate as an entirely different thing. Maybe that's a good thing. It would be also good to figure out whether we want to have something and how well this would address the issues that that Heba pointed out in the proposal as well. Because if the users are not expecting like full recreation, then yeah, we'll have to figure it out, like to address those cases accordingly. Cool. Does anyone have any other questions? I think how about that gives you plenty of thoughts to work further. I'm definitely gonna be reading through CAPS either later this week or if not sometime early next week, so that we are ready for 135 even before we will start the cycle.
Yeah, I guess
And
my only question was: does anybody broadly object to the concept or think that now is not an opportune time to take a look at it? Or
no, in general, that's I think it's a valid idea and a valid use case, and we have sufficient proof that users are requesting this thing,
yeah,
which is
I agree.
usually
And I
my
also think
initial
that
bar.
given the use cases that people have said that they want it for, they understand the limitations of what they would get out of it and the context in which it would be valuable. So
Yeah,
I think it's like general broad strokes, something we should do.
exactly.
okay, so for the next step, I will try to go back a little bit and read more about recreate stateful set discussion. If you can, like share any, like any pointer to it, that would be great. I will try to, like gather all these information and the old information about it and see how we can get something out of it. This is one.
Did you look at what Recreate does for deployment?
Yeah, this actually, like,
I mean, if you have that context, I think thinking along the lines of like, am I trying to do that or am I trying to do something different would be the thing that I would look to shape it up. If we're trying to do something different, maybe consider like there is value to having it as a completely separate update strategy, particularly if it's Recreate. If you want to, like I mean, you could also say like, I want this as a separate update strategy. I take my ex point about the name, that maybe it's not the best name, but like if we want to do a separate update strategy, like that's like, I'm not opposed to that. I just think that if we're going to do that, we should think about that as something that might, like right now, rolling update didn't have the majority of the parameters that it had when it went through V1. So like if you introduce an entirely new strategy, the maintenance might be high, right? Like the people are like, well, I wish it could do this. And then we have to add it there. If we think that like eventually this evolves to basically the same set of things that you have in a rolling update anyway, then it might be worth kind of handling the complexity of integrating it up front so we don't create two things that now we have to maintain for a very long time.
sure. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your feedback.
Thank you. Are you going to
Thank
talk
you for your
about
contribution.
Heba, are you planning to discuss the metrics for the mux and available?
Oh yeah, I think that this meeting is for me basically.
Yeah, you are taking over today's meeting, that's for sure.
Yeah, sorry for that in advance.
No worries, no worries.
So
Thank you
actually,
for the contribution. If you have to have a whole meeting about your work, you're doing awesome stuff.
thank you, John.
Exactly.
So basically, going back to the max unavailable, I was helping the team getting like moving this forward, and we stuck on the metrics BR. Why? Because Philip has some concerns which were valid actually. Like I validated them all, and now I just wanted to discuss the current. Let me share my screen again. So I wanted to discuss the current. Sorry, I'm not good at talking while doing something else. So I wanted to discuss that what we have so far to make sure if anyone has like has any suggestion, any objection. So we can like either move forward with this proposal or if you have any other proposals. So what we have so far or what we had, or what we have implemented is having just one metrics, and this metrics actually to have how much inconsistent status we have for the max unavailable. And Philip has a very valid argument here, which is, hey, you know, like there's a lot of false violation for this, specifically when we started, you know, like the stateful sets start to be created, because there will be a lot of inconsistent status here. And you know, like I did some you know, like tests, and he was right. I tried to get it down or reduce these false positive inconsistent status. I reached to, like, you know, like 50%, you know, like it's like I enhanced it to 50%, but I felt like it's not enough. So I suggested some very complex ways to enhance, you know, like to enhance the inconsistent status, or we can just propose different metrics altogether, because I felt like this might be not the best metric that user can predict from it if the max unavailable that they set is good or not. And thanks to Jeanette and to Philip, they proposed already. I just read it actually this morning. Sorry for messing up. So they proposed, you know, like to go with two matrices, and you know, like to solve this problem. The first one is for you know, like the max unavailable and unavailable replicas metrics, and both of them will gather all them, you know, like the metric that the user can need to have. I don't know if you had time to read the comments or not. If you have any objection to go with this. If not, I will just go and implement the suggestion from Janet and Philip.
Yeah, I was reading through those, and I started wondering, I'm assuming that for both of these you're planning to implement counters. The question that I have, what kind of labels will there be? I'm guessing we want to separately counter for uh, pod management policy, because it'll be different values for parallel and for the serial. And are you going to increase those metrics only for those stateful sets that have the max and available set, or
Yeah,
because
yes.
that's the part, so that we consistently always increasing both of them, but only for those stateful sets that have them set. As an alternative, I started thinking whether a histogram would be better, but I think a histogram would not necessarily be better. Maybe a histogram for the hold on, I need to find my notes because I wrote it somewhere and I cannot find it. How big the gap actually is as a histogram, as a yet another thing that we have. But I'm not sure if just relying on those two counters isn't sufficient.
I
And
didn't think about the histogram.
yeah.
You know, like I just considered the counters.
I mean, the counters are definitely good for starters.
Yeah.
Because they express both the max and available, unavailable replicas. With those two values, you can somehow figure out how off the controller is, and eventually set up according alert and whatnot. Whether we want to have the histogram as like an additional element that would also inform that, that's a separate thing. I believe Philip also mentions in this comment a condition so that we can actually track when a stateful set is being rolled,
Yes.
which separately from that work is probably a good idea also in terms of the other enhancement that we've been just talking about.
I recall this. I cannot find it right now, but I recall I read it.
I like
Yeah,
that idea, but I would maybe do it in a different PR.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah, of
a
course.
separate thing. That's
Yeah.
a separate thing because we know it's easier to do each thing separately. But
Totally
yeah,
agree. Yeah. And
Ken,
actually, and about the status that Philip, like suggest here, I'm totally actually agree with it.
yeah.
So it might be another cap, I believe, or I don't know if it should be a cap or just a PR. We can
No, for condition we don't need to have entirely separate cap.
thanks for that.
That's entirely thing. That's a thing that we can easily add at any point in time. To a controller. We don't need
Yeah, unless they
entirely
change the
separate cap.
API rules, as per Brian, conditions can't be counted on. They can come and go as we please.
If we would be to remove, then I would say we might have some issues. But when we're adding one, I also that would be in line with the ever
We have
open
conditions for
cap
every other controller
for
during a rolling
yeah,
update.
for aligning good conditions. Ken, by the way, since you're here, do you have any ideas about useful metrics for stateful sets? I mean, I run this question by Wojtek and folks from the SIG instrumentation. Every single person is struggling with coming up with reasonable metrics for stateful sets because the rollout of all the metrics that we have across other controllers are usually around, oh, I'm tracking a rollout. If a rollout is taking longer, then something is wrong with the controller. But with stateful set, we don't control how long the rollout is taking, and it can potentially be different for every single app. So we
And
have to
there's no
track
good way to
something else.
declare it. And the whole reason we didn't add it in the first place is because databases take forever to roll out. Sometimes it can be
Yeah.
right. So yeah. After reading the PR, my initial thought was go with the two that Janet suggested because it's better than nothing and it's a good start.
Yeah.
And then from
Yeah,
there, see
exactly.
what the demand is for increasing it. Like if you do it like you were saying earlier, the labels get complicated because like the expectation that you would have for a system level indicator really depends on the pod management policy and like the rest of the things that you're doing with the rollout. The rollout configuration can be a bit more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would start with what was there, and then yeah, it's worth thinking more deeply about like what other value can we add in terms of like, I mean, maybe it's something to take to KubeCon and literally just ask people like, what do you want of your metrics, or even do a developer survey.
Yeah, definitely. How about to also answer your question? I don't know, you put it somewhere in the doc or you were asking this somewhere? Oh yeah, you put it actually in the agenda. The missing items to get
Yeah.
it to beta for 135. If I remember correctly, I double checked what we wrote in what Edwin wrote in the document. The biggest one that I also said why we couldn't apply for the exception was the integration and E2E tests.
Yeah.
Ideally, we want to have both the integration and E2E tests added as soon as possible early on in 135 so that we can then say, oh, this is here already when we will be updating the cap for 135 because we will have to update it just the numbers itself when we will be able to say, oh, those are the tests that we already added, or that at least we can link the PRs open, that will be a sufficient signal for everyone to get this thing through. Also, we don't have to apply again for the PRR approvals for this particular cap because we already got those approved in the previous cycle. So it's only about bumping the numbers and making sure the required bits are that are missing are also addressed. And, you know, just ping myself, Janet, or Ken, and we can get the PRs and the cap quickly updated. And hopefully, I think that's one of the longest open issues that we've had in the under the SIG Apps umbrella. So yeah, like Ken said, big thanks for helping push those through.
Yeah, sure. I like closing all the issues. I feel satisfied actually for that. So the more we close, the more the better. So is it okay to create an issue to track this? And
Yes.
I will happy to work on it, but not now until like I finish the current work.
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead, open an issue. You can assign this thing to yourself,
Okay.
and then we will be able to
Okay.
to follow.
And just to confirm, you are okay to have these two metrics. We don't know yet if it's counter or histogram. I will go with counter until we figure it out or see.
I'll make sure to leave a comment, maybe not necessarily today, but definitely tomorrow morning, because my day is slowly ending, so that you are sure what we want to put there, especially around the counter. And I need to think through what kind of labels we want to make sure are covered in there as well, because that will be important part as well.
Perfect.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe with that, we can call it a day. Thank you very much, all.
Thank
And
you.
see you next time. Bye, folks.
See you.